We do talk about ultimately, our focus should be on Thakura, and that's the most important thing. That's the most relevant thing for our spiritual journeys. But we are in this material world, and that can be hard, and there are these distractions. And it's a fitting song because on that topic we are continuing to read the Gita today. We finished chapter 8 and reviewed that last time. So today we're starting chapter 9. And in that vein of, wanting to spend our focus on Thakura and not on material things, this chapter 9, in various translations is referred to as some version of knowledge of the ultimate truth. So chapter 7 and 8, Lord Krishna has explained who he is. He has explained the superior path for spiritual practice, and he's mentioned the ultimate truth, and we've talked about that various points. But this is the chapter where he is going to describe that more in depth, what that means, and we will be reading this and discussing that ultimate truth in more detail here. But before we get into reading this, just as general review, and so we have this in our minds as we're reading this beginning of chapter 9 here. In the last few chapters, what has Lord Krishna said is the superior way, or the best, the easiest way for us to attain liberation. I think what has Lord Krishna said in the previous chapters is the best way or easiest way for us to attain liberation.
Jaguru, I believe it was just by chanting, Jaguru.
So he gave some practices. So chanting is a practice that we can do. Any other areas, just in spiritual practice and in how we go about our lives, in our day-to-day lives, and kind of how we view the world. What is the easiest way for us in living our lives? What is the easiest way for us to attain liberation? Arian?
Jaguru, can you please repeat the question?
What has Lord Krishna said? What have we talked about in the last few chapters? What is the spiritual path that we follow that is going to get us to liberation the quickest and the easiest? Or another example.
I don't
what?
know.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, let me rephrase this. We talk about it quite often. Like, what is the way that Thakura has advised us to progress in our spiritual journey? What has he told us to
do? Jaguru, I think the ultimate goal is to realize our dharma, right? So we should at all times follow his word and be situated in yoga.
Right. Yeah. So that's essentially what we've talked about and what Lord Krishna has talked about as well. So it's what Thakura tells us too. So he has told us this in various ways. Basically, if we, Lord Krishna says, as Thakura said, is we follow him, if we meditate upon him, understand him, then we will get there ultimately. That is the best form of spiritual practice for us. So getting into why that is and how that links to the ultimate truth, we'll start reading about that here. Isaac, would you mind reading for us these first few verses of chapter 9? Everything that we have to read today. Isaac, are you there? How about Sandy, can you do the reading today?
Jaguru, Bhagavad Gita, Chapter 9, Part 1. The Supreme Lord said, O Arjun, because you are not envious of me, I shall now impart to you this very confidential knowledge and wisdom, upon knowing which you will be released from the miseries of maternal existence. This knowledge is the king of sciences and the most profound of all secrets. It purifies those who hear it. It is directly realizable in accordance with Dharma, easy to practice, and everlasting in effect. People who have no faith in this Dharma are unable to attain me, O conqueror of enemies. They repeatedly come back to this world in the cycle of birth and death. All the universes are pervaded by me, in an imperceptibly subtle manifestation, and all living entities find their support in me, but I am not supported in them. Behold my extraordinary and unparalleled majestic transcendental opulence. My omniscient self is the maintainer of all living entities and the protector of all living entities, but never influenced by them or by the material nature. Know that as a mighty wind blowing everywhere rests always in the sky, likewise all living beings always rest in me. At the end of one kalp, all living beings merge into my primordial material energy. At the beginning of the next creation, O son of Kunti, I manifest them again. Presiding over my material energy, I generate these myriad forms again and again in accordance with the force of their natures. O Arjuna, these universal activities never bind me. I am situated neutrally and as unattached to all these activities. Working under my direction, this material energy brings into being all animate and inanimate forms, O son of Kunti. For this reason, the material world undergoes the changes of creation, maintenance, and dissolution. When I descend in my personal form, deluded persons are unable to recognize me. They do not know the divinity of my personality as the Supreme Lord of all beings. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. Thank you for reading that for us. Before we get into discussion, does anyone have any questions? Okay. If not, we'll just go line by line as we normally do. So in this first verse, what does Lord Krishna say he's revealing to Arjuna, and why is he revealing that to Arjuna? What does he say is the reason that he can reveal this knowledge to Arjuna? Go ahead.
It says, upon knowing which you will be released from the miseries of material existence.
Right. So the knowledge that is going to be revealed here is the knowledge with which it's the ultimate truth. If we know it, if we truly understand it, then we're going to be free of this cycle of birth and death. And that's what we talked about in chapter 8, what we read about in chapter 8, our ultimate goal, ultimate liberation, is being freed from the cycle of birth and death. And Yuksa, can you tell me why is it that Lord Krishna says that he can reveal this information to Arjuna?
Jaguru, because Lord Arjuna isn't envious of him, meaning he's jealous, Lord Krishna is able to reveal him this knowledge, and he's worthy upon taking it. Jaguru.
Exactly right. So in this case, he says envious, and so he doesn't have jealousy. He doesn't want anything necessarily material from him. The way that this can be interpreted, that word, it's translated as envious, but in the commentaries and in other translations, it kind of there's no envy or malice or ill will. It's like you said, he is worthy of this information now because he is at a spiritual level and a mental state where he can take this information, and he wants this information. He's kind of spiritually ready for this information right now. And he is able to accept the nature of Lord Krishna, and he's kind of in a state to understand like the glory of Lord Krishna in that way. So since he can accept that and he is open to that and he's spiritually ready for that, that is why he is currently worthy of receiving this information and this truth, because he is in a state where he can process that. So moving to the next line, it's 2 and 3 here. So he then describes what this knowledge, this wisdom is, that will release us from this material nature, from the cycle of birth and death. And what does he say about this knowledge in verse 2, about the difficulty of realizing this knowledge? And how does he explain why? Let's start with this first one. How difficult is he saying in verse 2 is it to realize this knowledge? Jimmy, how difficult is Lord Krishna saying it is to realize this ultimate knowledge?
He says it's not that difficult, like if you try to if you believe in it, it's not that difficult, but if you don't, then it's more difficult.
Right. So he said it's really easy if you have faith in him, if you follow him. This is a really easy thing for us to achieve. But if we, so he says people who have no faith can't attain him, it's much more difficult for them to do so. And so that's his way of explaining why, if it truly is so easy to practice, if it is ultimately what we want, is not to be suffering in this world, if it's truly that easy, why is it that so many people are still here on earth, still in the cycle of birth and death? Why isn't everyone just attaining liberation? And he says the key here is that it's easy only if you have this faith, and if you attained him, he makes it easy. But if you don't have that, it's much more difficult to follow this path, to understand the dharma, the path that we need to attain this knowledge. Okay. Then he starts describing his nature again. And he says who he is in relation to material nature in the universe. In verse 4, he says, all the universes are pervaded by me in an imperceptibly subtle manifestation, and all living entities find their support in me, but I am not supported in them. So this line specifically, Manu, this line 4, what is he saying? What does that mean to you? What point is he making?
Jagger, could you repeat which line again?
Line 4. Its relation to nature. What does that mean? Line 4. What is he saying about himself there?
Jagger, he's saying he's like subtly present everywhere, and although all beings depend on him, he's like independent of their dependence on him. Jagger.
Yeah. So he's saying, and we've talked about this nature of Brahman, of Lord Krishna, of Thakura. He's saying, he's everywhere. He's in everything. Everything relies on him. But we've talked about this nature in earlier chapters here as well, that he is not, despite everything relying on him, he is not dependent on that material nature. He is independent, like you said. So then he goes on to talk about that more in verse 5. So he says, behold my extraordinary, unparalleled, majestic, transcendental opulence. He's the maintainer of all things, protector of all things. But he says he's never influenced by them or by the material nature, despite being the one that sustains them. Why is it important for us to know that distinction, that despite being immersed in all of the material things, despite being kind of the driver and maintainer of this world, this universe, the material things that we see around us, why is it important for us to know that he is not, as you said, influenced by them? And why might it be important for us to know that distinction, that he's in all the material things, he's maintaining all of the material things, but he's not influenced by them?
Jaguru, I think that Krishna makes this distinction so that he can show how he's kind of an anchor for all of us, and that we can all keep on striving to him, and that he won't be changing. He's always there, and he's always our goal that we should have for liberation. Jaguru.
Right. So, we say our problem is that in material nature we go through a lot of suffering because it's a cycle. Things will make us happy, things will make us sad. We've talked about karma, every action has a reaction, but that's the nature of things. So as long as we're stuck in the material nature of things, there's going to be misery. So by making that distinction that he is not affected by those things in the same way, he's setting us up to understand that he can help us. Sorry, I had to cough there. So then, moving forward there, he then discusses where all material things come from. So in verses 7 and 8. Where does he say all material things come from? I see. Where do all material things come from?
Jacob, he says that all material things come from like each new creation that he brings back. Jacob?
Right. He says they all spring from him. So it's this cycle with birth and death and rebirth. He generates these forms, the material forms, from his material energy. So it is still his energy. It comes from him. Again and again in these cycles that we discussed in depth in Chapter 8, based off of the force of their nature. So various concepts we've talked about on what they're supposed to become based off of previous lives and other concepts like that. So he says, this is the nature of the universe. These material things come out of him. They come back in. It's just this. We have birth and death and rebirth. We have these cycles. And then he says in verse 9, these universal activities, they're happening, but he is unattached to these activities. So we talked about it's important for us to make that distinction, because if he's unattached, then he can lead us out of it. But do we remember why is he unattached despite being the material thing comes from him, he sustains it. Why is he unattached to these material things? Anshul, do you have an idea like why Lord Krishna and Thakur are unattached to the material things?
Maybe he's unattached to material things because it's the precedent he wants to tell us, to be not obsessed with a material thing, so we can get the knowledge he talks about before.
Yeah, so it's in one way he's telling us this distinction and really driving the point home that he's unattached, because for us to get out of the material existence and this cycle that we're in, we also need to be unattached to this world and the material nature of it. And so that's kind of a example he's setting. And he's also, while material things are there and he's unattached because, in part, the ultimate truth is that this material nature is illusory. Everything is coming from him ultimately, and it's this ultimate truth we've talked about of us wanting to understand that truth, understand who he is and how he pervades everything. He is that truth, so he isn't attached to the material nature because he understands what that material nature is one way to interpret that or to think about that. So then the very last thing he says in verse 11 is, in this context, it's Lord Krishna talking to Arjuna, and this is happening during the Mahabharata. So he is answering a question that wasn't necessarily asked here, but he's saying Lord Krishna is at this point walking on earth within everything happening in the Mahabharata. So he's saying he's walking around then, and he's revealed, he is the Supreme Lord. He explains why people aren't recognizing him as such. And he said because he's descended to earth, that as Lord Krishna in the form that he is in, and not showing his true nature, he's saying people that are not seeing the truth or are not on that spiritual path are not able to recognize him as the Supreme Lord. So they don't know who he is, and they don't understand who he is in that way. And then next time when we pick this up, he's going to explain the nature of how people can see him for who he truly is. With that, we are out of time. And I believe Saraswata has been married today, so Saraswata, when you're ready. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru. My semesters have been blurred together, and I've taken on the limit of my plate. Praying to Thakura and coming to puja has fallen off, and I'd like to focus on putting it back on. Last Lord Binima, I said you can always find time for your priorities, and I haven't devoted time to thoughtful prayer, at least not in a consistent way that matters. I've always been taught that you should find time to pray to Thakura, which means deliberately making space and not squeezing in prayer. So I'm trying to be more efficient with my schedule so I can find time to attend weekly YA sessions and pray to Thakura in the morning. Jai Guru.
भक्त भाई बलान डिस्काउंट ହେଇଛି ଭକ୍ତ ଭାଇ ଲିନା ମାଝୀ ଶୁଣିପାରୁଛନ୍ତି ଆରାମ କରୁଛୁ
ଭାଇ ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ ମୋ କଥା ଶୁଣି ପାରୁଛନ୍ତି ତ?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ମା ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ।
ଜୟ ଗୁରୁ। ପ୍ରାଣର ଠାକୁର, ଉପସ୍ଥିତ ସମସ୍ତ ଭକ୍ତ ଭାଇ ମା ମାନେ ଆଉ ଆଉ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଅପାର କରୁଣାରୁ ଆଜି ବର୍ଷକ ପରେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ସେବା ପାଳି ମିଳିଛି। ଆଉ ସେବା ପାଳି ମିଳିଲେ ବି ମାନେ ଆମେ ଏତେ ଦୂରରେ ରହିକି ଯାହା ସବୁ ଖାଲି ଗୋଟେ ମାନସିକରେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ସବୁ କଳ୍ପନା କରୁଥାଉ ଯେ କେମିତି ହଉଥିବ କଣ କରୁଥିବ, ସେ ଯୋଉ ଆନନ୍ଦ। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଦୃଷ୍ଟିରୁ ଆମକୁ ବି ଗୋଟେ ମିଳିଛି, ହଁ ଏଠି ମୁଁ ସଂଘକୁ ଯାଇପାରୁଛି। ଆଉ ଗୃହାସନରେ ବି ଯେହେତୁ ଆମେ ସେଠି ଆରତିରେ ରହିପାରୁନୁ, ତେଣୁ ମୁଁ ଯୋଉଦିନ ଆମର ପାଳିଥାଏ ମୁଁ ଟିକେ ଗୃହାସନରେ ଆରତି କରିକି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଭୋଗ ନିବେଦନ କରେ, ସେଟା ଗୋଟେ ଆନନ୍ଦ ମିଳେ। ଆଉ ଆମେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଆଜି ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ ପାଳି ଦିନ ନିଜକୁ ବି ଆମକୁ ଆନାଲାଇଜ କରିବା କଥା, ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ବର୍ଷରେ ଆମେ କଣ ସବୁବେଳେ ଭାଇ କୁହନ୍ତି ବ୍ରଜ ଭାଇ ଯେ କଣ ଆମେ ଆଗେଇଛୁ କେତେ କରୁଛୁ। ମୁଁ ତ ସିଏ କଣ ଆମେ ଆଗେଇଛୁ କେବଳ ଠାକୁର ହିଁ ଜାଣିଥିବେ। ମୁଁ ନିଜକୁ ସବୁବେଳେ ମତେ ଯେତେବେଳେ ମୁଁ ମାନେ 10th ସ୍କେଲ ରଖେ ମତେ ଲାଗେ ସବୁବେଳେ ମୁଁ ସବା ତଳ ପାହାଚରେ ସବୁବେଳେ ବସିଛି, ଆଉ ସେମିତି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ କୃପାକୁ ହାତ ମାନେ କୃପାକୁ ଅନେଇକି ବସିଛି ଯେମିତି। ଆଉ ମୁଁ ଜାଣିଛି ଜୀବନରେ ଆମେ ଯାହା ଆଧ୍ୟାତ୍ମିକ ଉନ୍ନତି ହଉ, ସାଂସାରିକ ଉନ୍ନତି ହଉ, ଯାହାବି ଆମର ଏ ଜୀବନରେ କେବଳ ସବୁ କିଛି ମାନେ ଗୁରୁ କୃପା ସାପେକ୍ଷ। ତା ଛଡା ମୁଁ ଭାବେ ଯେ ନିଜର ପୁରୁଷାର୍ଥ ବଳରେ କଣ ଆମେ କରିପାରିବୁ, ମୁଁ ମତେ ଆଜି ପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ମୁଁ ଜାଣିପାରୁନି ଯେ ମୋ ଜୀବନରେ ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ କିଛି ସେମିତି କରିପାରିବି ବୋଲି। କିନ୍ତୁ କେବଳ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ମାନେ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା କରିପାରିବି ସେତିକି ଆମକୁ କେବଳ ଠାକୁର ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି। ଆଉ ଆଜି ପଢା ହେଲା ଯୋଉ ସକାଳେ ଆମର ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା କରିବା ପ୍ରତି ଯେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇବାର ସବୁ ବହୁତ 10ଟା ତ ସବୁ କୁହାଗଲା, କେମିତି କଣ ଆମେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇବା। ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧା, କୀର୍ତ୍ତନ, ଅନନ୍ୟ ଚିନ୍ତନ, ଅଖଣ୍ଡ ନାମ ସ୍ମରଣ, ପ୍ରିୟ କର୍ମ ଅନୁଷ୍ଠାନ, ସେବା, ଅନୁରାଗ, ବୈରାଗ୍ୟ ସବୁ କୁହାହେଲା। ତ ତା ଭିତରେ ଯୋଉ ଆକୁଳତା ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତାର ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇବାର ହଉଛି ସବୁଠାରୁ ବଡ ମାନେ ଇଏ। ମାନେ ମୁଁ ଆଜି ଗୋଟେ ଶୁଣୁଛି ଯେ ଆକୁଳତା ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତାର କିଛି ବି ଅଛି। ଆକୁଳତା କଣ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା କଣ, ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ତାର ଏକ୍ସାମ୍ପଲ ଦେଇ ବୁଝୁଥିଲେ ଯେ ଆକୁଳତା ହଉଛି ମାନେ ମତେ ଶୋଷ ଲାଗୁଛି, ମୋର ପାଣି ଦରକାର, ଏଇଟା ହଉଛି ଆକୁଳତା। କିନ୍ତୁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ଯୋଉ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ହଉଛି ମୁଁ ପାଣି ନ ପିଇଲେ ମରିଯିବି, ତାହା ହଉଛି ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା। ତେଣୁ ମାନେ ଆମର ଯେତେବେଳେ ବ୍ୟାକୁଳତା ଟା ବଢିବ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପ୍ରତି, ସେତେବେଳେ ଯାଇକି ଆମେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ମାନେ ଆମର ସେଇ ଦିଗରେ ଆଧ୍ୟାତ୍ମିକ ଉନ୍ନତି ଟା ହେବ। ଆଉ ମୁଁ ଠାକୁର ତ ସବୁବେଳେ କହିଛନ୍ତି ଆମେ ମନୁଷ୍ୟତ୍ୱର ଭିକାରୀ, ତମ ପାଖରେ ମନୁଷ୍ୟତ୍ୱ, ଦେବତ୍ୱ, ଈଶ୍ୱରତ୍ୱ ର ମୁଁ ଭିକାରୀ ସବୁବେଳେ କହିଛନ୍ତି। ମୋର ସେଇଟା ଗୋଟେ ସବୁବେଳେ ଆମେ କଣ ଗୋଟେ ମାନେ ଶୁଆ ରଟ କଲା ଭଳିଆ ସବୁବେଳେ ପଦ ଠାକୁର କହିଛନ୍ତି ଆମେ ମନୁଷ୍ୟତ୍ୱ, ଈଶ୍ୱରତ୍ୱ, ଦେବତ୍ୱ ହୁଅନ୍ତି, କିନ୍ତୁ ତାକୁ ଭିତରକୁ ଏତେ ଯାଇନଥିଲି ଯେ ମାନେ ଜିନିଷଟା ଆମେ ସତରେ କଣ ଆମେ ଈଶ୍ୱରତ୍ୱରେ ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠିତ ହେଇପାରିବା, ଦେବତ୍ୱ, ବ୍ରହ୍ମତ୍ୱ ଏସବୁ କେତେ ବଡ ବଡ ଜିନିଷ। ମୁଁ କହିଲି ଏସବୁ କଣ ଆମେ ଏଇ ଜନ୍ମରେ ଏସବୁ କରିକି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଆମେ ସେବା କରିବା। ଏବେ ମାନେ ରଜ ପୂଜାରେ ମୁଁ ତ ଯାଇନଥିଲି, ଜଣେ ମା ଯାଇଥିଲି, ଆମର ଶରତ ଭାଇ ବୁଝଉଥିଲେ, ମତେ ଭାରି ଭଲ ଲାଗିଲା ସେ ମାଙ୍କ ପାଖରୁ ଏଇଟା ଶୁଣିଲି। ମୁଁ ଏଇଟା ଟିକେ କହିବି ଆଜି। ସେ କହୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ମାନେ ମନୁଷ୍ୟତ୍ୱ, ଯୋଉ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଜାଣିବାଟା ହଉଛି ମନୁଷ୍ୟତ୍ୱ, ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କ ଦିଗରେ ଆଗେଇବାଟା ହେଉଛି ଦେବତ୍ୱ, ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କ ଭାବରେ ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠିତ ହେବାଟା ହଉଛି ଈଶ୍ୱରତ୍ୱ, ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କ ଭାବରେ ରହି ସେବା କରିବାଟା ହଉଛି ବ୍ରହ୍ମତ୍ୱ। ଏଇ ଯୋଉ ଠାକୁର ଆମକୁ ଯୋଉ କହିଛନ୍ତି ମନୁଷ୍ୟତ୍ୱ, ଈଶ୍ୱରତ୍ୱ, ଦେବତ୍ୱ, ବ୍ରହ୍ମତ୍ୱର ଭିକାରୀ, ଏଇଟା ହଉଛି ଆମର। ଏମିତି ଆମେ ଯଦି ଠାକୁର ସବୁରେ ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠିତ ହେଇପାରିବା ତାହେଲେ ଯାଇକି ଆମର ଏଇଟା ହବ, ପ୍ରକୃତରେ ଆମର ଆମେ ସେଥିରେ ପ୍ରତିଷ୍ଠିତ ହେଇପାରିବା। ଆଉ ଯାହାବି ଆମର କଲେ ଆମେ ସଂଘ ସହିତ ସବୁବେଳେ ଜଡିତ ହେଇ ରହିଲେ, ଆଉ ଏଇ ସବୁ ଜିନିଷ ଆମର ଯାହାବି ଆମେ କରିବା ସେଟା ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ମାନେ ସଂଘକୁ ଆସିଲେ ହିଁ, ସଂଘ ଠାକୁର କହିଛନ୍ତି ସଂଘ ମୋର ସ୍ୱରୂପ, ସଂଘକୁ ଆସିଲେ ହିଁ ଆମେ ସବୁ ହିଁ ପାଇବା। ଆଉ ସଂଘରେ ମାନେ ଯେମିତି ସବୁବେଳେ ଆମର ଏଠି ସବୁବେଳେ ଆମ ସଭାପତି କହନ୍ତି ଯେ ଏଇଟା ତ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଆକ୍ଚୁଆଲି ଠାକୁର ମେହେରପୁର ଶିବାଳୟରେ କହିଥିଲେ ଏଇଟା, ସଂଘକୁ ବୋଲବେ ନା କାଜ ଅଛି, କାଜକୁ ବୋଲବେ ସଂଘ ଅଛି। ତେଣୁ ମାନେ ସବୁବେଳେ ଯେମିତି ସଂଘକୁ ଆସିଲେ ଆମର ଠାକୁର ମନେ ରହିବେ, ଆଉ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ମନେ ରଖିଲେ ହିଁ ଆମର ସବୁ ସାଧନା। ଆଉ ଯେମିତି ବିଭୁଙ୍କୁ ଭୁଲିଲେ ସକଳ ଦୁଃଖ, ବିଭୁ ସୁମରିଲେ ସକଳ ସୁଖ, ଯେମିତି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଧରିକି ରହିଲେ ହିଁ ଆମର ସବୁ ସୁଖ। ଆଉ ଆମକୁ ଆମେ ଦେଖିବାକୁ ଗଲେ ଠାକୁର ଆମକୁ ସବୁ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ ବେଳେ ବେଳେ ଏଇ ଗୀତଟା ମତେ ବହୁତ ଭଲ ଲାଗେ, ମାନେ ଯେ ଅଯୋଗା ଅଗୁଣର ବୋଲି କାହିଁରେ ତୁମେ ତ ଉଣା କରିନାହ, ଦେଇନାହ କେବେ ଦୂର ଛାଡି। ଆମେ ଏତେ ଅଯୋଗ ଅଗୁଣ କେତେ ଯେ ଆମର ମାନେ ଅଛି, ଯେ କିନ୍ତୁ ଠାକୁର ଆମକୁ ସେମିତି ଭଲ ପାଇକି ସେ ମାନେ ଆମକୁ ଏତେ କୃପା କରିଛନ୍ତି, ସେ ମାନେ ଆଖି ପିଠିଲା ଦିନଠୁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପରିବାରରେ ଜନ୍ମ କରିଛନ୍ତି। ଯେ ଆଜି ଭାଇ ଭାବନା କହୁଥିଲେ ସଂଘର୍ଷ, ସେ କହୁଥିଲେ କି ଆମେ କେତେ ଭାଗ୍ୟବାନ, ମାନେ ଅନ୍ୟମାନେ ସାଧନା କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇବା ପାଇଁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆମେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇଛେ। ମାନେ ଆମେ ପାଇକି ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି କେଡେ ବଡ ଜିନିଷ, ଆମେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ପାଇଛେ, ଏଡେ ବଡ ଗୁରୁଙ୍କୁ ପାଇଛେ। ସେଇଟା ହଉଛି ମାନେ ଆମ ମାନଙ୍କର ବଡ ମାନେ ଅଲରେଡି ଆମର ଆଚିଭମେଣ୍ଟ ହେଇଯାଇଛି। ଆଉ ଠାକୁର କହିଛନ୍ତି ମୁକ୍ତି ତ ମାନେ ସେମାନେ ଠାକୁର କହିଛନ୍ତି ସେଟା ତମର କିଛି କାମ ନାହିଁ, ମୁକ୍ତି ତ ଗୋଟେ କାମନା, ମୁକ୍ତି ବି ଆମର ଦରକାର ନାହିଁ, ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ସେବା ହିଁ ଆମର ସବୁ କିଛି। ଆଉ ମୁକ୍ତି ବି ଆମେ ସେଟା କାମନା କରିବା କଥା ନୁହଁ, ମୁକ୍ତି ମୋକ୍ଷ ସବୁ ଆମର ଦରକାର ହିଁ ନାହିଁ। ଆମ ପାଇଁ କଣଟା ଭଲ ଠାକୁର ସେଟା କରିକି ରଖିଛନ୍ତି। ଆଉ ଇଏ ତ ସବୁ ହେଲା ମାନେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ବାଣୀ ବିଷୟରେ କଣ କହିବ, ତେବେ ସିଏ ତ ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ସାଗର ମନ୍ଥିଲେ, ଆଉ ଏତେ ଆମର ସବୁ ଭାଇ ମାନେ ତ ସବୁ ଏତେ ବଢିଆ ସବୁ ଆଲୋଚନା ହଉଛି, ବହୁତ ଭଲ ଲାଗୁଛି। ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଆମକୁ ମାନେ ଟାଇମିଂ ଟା ଟିକେ ମ୍ୟାଚ୍ କରେନି, ତଥାପି ମତେ ବହୁତ ମାନେ କେମିତି ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଏମିତି ଜଡିତ ହେଇଯାଇଛି ପ୍ରଥମରୁ, ଯେ ମାନେ ଯେମିତି ମାନେ ଆମେରିକା ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ଯେମିତି ଆମର ମାନେ ସେଇ ଭାଇ ମା ମାନଙ୍କର ପାଟି କଣ୍ଠସ୍ୱର ନ ଶୁଣି ଯେମିତି ଗୋଟେ ଲାଗେ, ଯେମିତି ନିଜର ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ବହୁତ ଭଲ ଲାଗେ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀରେ ଭେଟ ହେଲେ। ଆଉ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀରୁ ମନେ ପଡିଲା ଗୋଟେ ଏଥରକ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀ ଆମେ ସ୍ୱରରେ ପଡିଥିଲା, ଆଉ ଯାଇଥିଲୁ, ମୋର ଏଥର ଗୋଟେ ବହୁତ ପରୀକ୍ଷା ଥିଲା ମୋ ପାଇଁ। ସ୍ୱରତା ପୂର୍ବ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀରେ ଆମର ପୁନେ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀ ଆମର ପ୍ରବାସୀ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ହେଇଥିଲା, ମତେ ଏଥରକ ମାନେ ଆଲଟର ସେବା ମିଳିଥିଲା। ଥରେ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ପାଇଗଲେ ଟିକେ ଲୋଭ ହୁଏ, ମତେ ଏଥର ବି ଭାରି ଇଚ୍ଛା ହଉଥିଲା କି ମୁଁ ବି ଟିକେ କେମିତି ଆଲଟ ସେବା ପାଆନ୍ତି। ମୁଁ କହିଲି ଆମ ମାନେ କହିଲେ ମା ଏଥର ଭୁଲି ଯାଆନ୍ତୁ, ସେଦିନ ପ୍ରବାସୀ ମାନଙ୍କର ମିଳେ, ଏଠି ଆଲଟ ସେବା ପାଇଁ ମାସ ଧରୁ ମାନେ ଲାଇନ, ଆଉ ଏଠି ଏଥରକ ହଉଛି ସ୍ୱରରେ, ସେଠି କେତେ ମା ସବୁ ସିଏ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ। ମୁଁ କହିଲି ମୁଁ ଗୋଟେ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଦେବି, ଯଦି ମିଳିବ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଟା ଦେଲି, କାରଣ ମୁଁ ସବୁ ଟିକେ ବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ଥିଲି ଅଲଗା ଇଏରେ, ମୁଁ ଆଉ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଟା ଆମ ସଭାପତିଙ୍କୁ ଦେଲି। ସଭାପତି କହିଲେ କି ଆପଣ ପରିଚାଳକଙ୍କୁ ପଠେଇ ଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ମୁଁ ଆଉ ପରିଚାଳକଙ୍କୁ ଖାଲି ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଟା ଫରୱାର୍ଡ କଲି, କିନ୍ତୁ ସେତେବେଳେ ସଭାପତି ଏତେ ବ୍ୟସ୍ତ ଥିଲେ, ସିଏ ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କର କେତେ ମେସେଜ ଯାଇ ପଡୁଥିଲେ, ସିଏ ଆଉ ଦେଖିନାହାନ୍ତି। ତାପରେ ପୁଣି ଆଉ ଥରେ ଫୋନ କରି ଆମ ସମ୍ପାଦକଙ୍କୁ କହିଲି, ମୁଁ ଭାଇ ମୋର କଣ ହେଲା, କିଛି ମିଳିଲା ସେବା? ମା ଏଥର ବହୁତ ଚେଞ୍ଜ ହେଇଯାଇଛି, ଆଉ ସେଠିକାର ଯିଏ ସଭାନେତ୍ରୀ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଆପଣ କହିବେ ଯାଇକି, ସିଏ ଯଦି ସିଏ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ମାନେ ତାଙ୍କ ଦାୟିତ୍ୱରେ ଅଛି ଆଲଟ ସେବାଟା, ଆପଣ ତାଙ୍କୁ କହିଲେ, ସିଏ ସଭାନେତ୍ରୀଙ୍କୁ ତ ସ୍ୱର ସମିତି ମୁଁ ଜାଣିନି, ଆଉ ତାଙ୍କୁ କଣ କହିବି, ଏମିତି ହେଇକି ପୁରା ଏମିତି ରହିଗଲି। ଆଉ ମୋର ପୁଣି ଏତେ ଦୁର୍ଯୋଗ ଯେ ଏଥରକ ମୋର ମାନେ ଆମର ୟୁଏସ୍ ଯିବା ପାଇଁ, ମୁଁ ଭିସା ଷ୍ଟାମ୍ପିଂ ପାଇଁ ମୋର ଆମ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀ ଅଧିବାସ ଦିନ ହିଁ ମୋର ପଡିଥିଲା ଡେଟ୍ ଟା, ଆମେ ଚେନ୍ନାଇ ଯିବାକୁ ପଡିଲା। ଚେନ୍ନାଇରୁ ଫେରିଲା ବେଳକୁ ଆମେ ଭୁବନେଶ୍ୱର ପହଞ୍ଚିଲା ରାତି 10ଟା ଅଧିକ ସହିତ ଭାଇ କହିଲେ କଣ ଏତେ ରାତିରେ ଯିବା। ପୁଣି ଆମେ ଭାବିଲୁ ଆମେ ଯଦି ଆମେ ରାତିରେ ନ ଯାଉଛୁ ସ୍ୱର ତାହେଲେ ଆଉ ସକାଳ ଷୋଡଶ ପୂଜାଟା ଦେଖିପାରିବୁ ନା। ଆମେ ବାଧ୍ୟ ହେଇକି ସେଦିନ ଷୋଡଶ ପଳେଇ ଆସିଲୁ ମାନେ ରାତିରେ। ଏତେ କୁହୁଡି ଥିଲା, ସମସ୍ତେ ଯିଏ ଯୋଉମାନେ ସ୍ୱର ଯାଇଛନ୍ତି ଜାଣିଛ ରାସ୍ତା ଅବସ୍ଥା ଏତେ ଖରାପ ଥିଲା, କିଛି ଭିଜିବିଲିଟି ପୁରା ଜିରୋ। ହଁ ଭାଇ ସରେଇଦେବି। ଯାଇଥିଲୁ ନାଇଁ ଆମେ ଯାଇକି ପହଞ୍ଚିଲୁ ଟିକେ ରାସ୍ତା ଇଏ ଥିଲା, ବହୁତ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ଆଶୀର୍ବାଦ ଯାଇକି ପହଞ୍ଚିଲୁ। ଆଉ ତାପରେ ମୁଁ ସେ ଆଲଟ ସେବାଟା କହିକି ସରେଇ ଦଉଛି। ତାପରେ ଯାଇକି ମତେ ମୁଁ ଜାଣିଥିଲି ଆଉ ଆଲଟ ସେବା ମିଳିବନି। ଏମିତି ମୁଁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କୁ ଜଷ୍ଟ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା କରିକି ଠିଆ ହେଇଛି। ଆମର ଜଣେ ମା ସେବାରେ ଯାଇଥିଲେ, ସିଏ ହଠାତ୍ ଦେଖାଇଲେ, ସିଏ ତାଙ୍କ ଆଡୁ ପଚାରିଲେ ଆଉ ମା ଏଥର ଆଲଟ ସେବା କରୁଛନ୍ତି? ମୁଁ କହିଲି ମା କୋଉଠି ମିଳିବ ଆଉ ଆଲଟ ସେବା, ମୁଁ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଦେଇଥିଲି, ସେ କିଛି କୁଆଡେ ହେଇନି। ସେଠି ମୋ ପାଖରେ ରଶ୍ମିଆ ବି ଠିଆ ହେଇଥିଲେ, ଆମ ଶିବାନୀ ମା ବି ଠିଆ ହେଇଥିଲେ, ଆମେ 3 ଜଣ ଯାକ ଠିଆ ହେଇଥିଲୁ। ଆଉ ଆପଣ ସେବା କରିବେ ମାନେ ଏମିତି ବିଶ୍ୱାସ ହଉନଥିଲା। ତାପରେ ଭାଇ ଡାକି ନେଇଗଲେ, ଆସନ୍ତୁ ଆସନ୍ତୁ ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ କରିଛି, ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ଆଉ ଥରେ ଦେଇଦିଅନ୍ତୁ। ଆଉ ଆମକୁ କିଛି ଗୋଟେ ମଧ୍ୟ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ ହଉନଥାଏ। ପୁଣି ନେଇକି ସାଙ୍ଗେ ସାଙ୍ଗେ ଗୋଟେ ଆପ୍ଲିକେସନ ପୁଣି ଆମେ ଆଉ ଥରେ ଦେଲୁ ସେ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀ ମଣ୍ଡପରେ। ଆଉ ପ୍ରଣାମୀ ଟିକେ ଦେଇକି ଆମେ ଇଏ କଲୁ। ତାପରେ ମା କହିଲେ କି ଆପଣ ଆସିବେ। ମତେ ସେପର୍ଯ୍ୟନ୍ତ ମୋ ବିଶ୍ୱାସ ହଉନଥାଏ ଯେ ସତରେ କଣ ଆମକୁ ଆଲଟ ସେବା ମିଳିବ। ଆଉ ମୁଁ ସବୁବେଳେ ଆଲଟ ଗୋଟେ କିଣିକି ରଖେ, ଯଦି ମିଳିଥାଏ କଣ କହନ୍ତି ଯେ ଆଲଟ ମାନେ ବହୁତ ମିଳେନି, ସମସ୍ତେ ଆଗରୁ ନେଇଯାନ୍ତି, ରାତି 2ଟା 3ଟା ନେଇଯାନ୍ତି। ତାପରେ ଆମେ ଯାଇ ପହଞ୍ଚିଲୁ, ମୁଁ ଆଗ ପହଞ୍ଚିଲି, ତାପରେ ରଶ୍ମିମା ଶିବାନୀ ମା ଆମେ ସମସ୍ତେ ପହଞ୍ଚିଲୁ। ଆଉ ମାନେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର କି ଅପାର କରୁଣା, ଆମ ପାଇଁ 3ଟା ଆଲଟ ସେଠି ଥୁଆ ହେଇଥିଲା। ମା ବି ରଶ୍ମିମା ଶିବାନୀ ମା କହିଲେ ମା ଆପଣଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଆମେ ବି ସେବା ପାଇଲୁ। ମୁଁ କହିଲି ଠାକୁର ଆମ 3 ଜଣଙ୍କୁ କୃପା କରିଛନ୍ତି, ଆମକୁ 3 ଜଣଙ୍କୁ ଆଲଟ ସେବା ମିଳିଲା। ଆଉ ଏସବୁ ମାନେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ କୃପା। ଆଉ ଆମେ ଜୀବନରେ ସେଇ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ କୃପା ବିନା ଆମର କିଛି ନାହିଁ। ଆଉ ମୁଁ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ଘରେ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା କରୁଛି ଯେମିତି ସମସ୍ତଙ୍କର ଆଧ୍ୟାତ୍ମିକ ଉନ୍ନତି ହଉ, ଆମେ ଯେମିତି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପଥରେ ଆମେ ଗତି ଯାଇଛୁ।
ଜୟଗୁରୁ। ଭକ୍ତ ଭାଇ ଆସିଲେନି?
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଭାଇ, ଜୟଗୁରୁ
ଭାଇ।
ଭାଇ ଶୁଭୁଛି?
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଆଜ୍ଞା ଭାଇ।
ପ୍ରଥମେ ତ କ୍ଷମା ଭିକ୍ଷା କରିବି, ଠିକ ସେ ମ୍ୟୁଟ ହେଇପାରିଲାନି, ସେଥିପାଇଁ ଅନମ୍ୟୁଟ ହେଇପାରିଲାନି। ତ ଆପଣ କହିଲା ବେଳେ ମାନେ ମୁଁ କହିଲା ବେଳକୁ ଶୁଭୁ ନଥିଲା। ପ୍ରଥମେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ କ୍ଷମା ଭିକ୍ଷା କରିବି। ଆଉ ଆଜିର ମୋର ସେବା ପାଳି ମାନେ ଏମିତି ଗୋଟେ ଆଜି ପଡିଲା ଯେ ମାନେ ଏଇଟା ହଉଛି 10 ବର୍ଷରେ ଫାର୍ଷ୍ଟ ଟାଇମ ମୋର ଆଜି ଏଠି ହାଇଦ୍ରାବାଦ 2ଟା ସଂଘରେ ଆଜି ମୋର ସେମ ଦିନରେ ସେବା ପାଳି ରହିଲା। ବହୁତ ଖୁସି ଲାଗିଲା। ଠାକୁର ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଦିନରେ 2ଟା ଇଏ ପାଇଁ ମତେ ସୁଯୋଗ ଦେଇଛନ୍ତି। ଆଉ ମାନେ ଏଇ ଇଏରେ ମେନଲି ଆମେ ଚିନ୍ତା କରୁ କଣ ଗୋଟେ ବର୍ଷ ଭିତରେ ଆମେ କେମିତି କଣ କରୁଛୁ କଣ ନାହିଁ, କିଛି ଉନ୍ନତି ହଉଛି ନା ଆମେ ଯେମିତି ସେମିତି ଚାଲିଛି, ସେଇ ବିଷୟରେ କହିବି ଯେ ମାନେ ଯାହା ଆରଥରକ ଭାବିଥିଲି ଏଥରକ ମତେ ଲାଗେ କି ମୁଁ ବୋଧେ ମାନେ ସେଇ ସେମ ଇଏ ରହିଯାଉଛି। ବେଶୀ କିଛି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଯାହା ଭାବୁ ସେଠି କିଛି ମାନେ ଯୋଉ ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା କିଛି ନଉଛି ତାକୁ ଭଲସେ କରିପାରୁନି। କିନ୍ତୁ ଆରଥରକ ଭାବିଥିଲି ମାନେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ସେବା ପୂଜାଟା ଯେମିତି ଘରେ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ମାନେ ସଂଘ କୋଉଠି ଯାଇପାରୁନି, ଯାହା ଆମେ ଏଠି ଜଏନ କରୁଛୁ ଇଏରେ କେମିତି ସବୁବେଳେ ସକାଳ ସନ୍ଧ୍ୟାରେ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଯେତେ କଷ୍ଟ କରୁଛେ ସେଟାକୁ କେବେ ଇଏ କରିବିନି, ଆଉ ସେତିକି କରିପାରୁଛି। ଆଉ ଦିନଲିପି ବି ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଇଁ ଏ ବର୍ଷ ଦଉଛି, ମାନେ ଲେଖୁଛି, ସବୁ ମାନେ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିଛି। ବହୁତ ମାନେ ଆଗ ଅପେକ୍ଷା ବହୁତ ମୁଁ କହିବି କି ମାନେ ଇଏରେ କରିପାରୁଛି। ମାନେ ଯାହା ଆରଥରକ ଯୋଉ ଟାସ୍କ ନେଇଥିଲି ତାକୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିଛି କରିବା ପାଇଁ, କିନ୍ତୁ ମାନେ ଆହୁରି ଭଲ କରିବା ପାଇଁ କେମିତି ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବି ସେଟା ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ସବୁବେଳେ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା କରେ। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଲାଗେ କି ମାନେ ବହୁତ ମାନେ ସେଇ ସେମ ଜିନିଷ କରିଆସୁଛି କିନ୍ତୁ କିଛି ଏକ୍ସଟ୍ରା ଏଫର୍ଟ ଠାକୁରଙ୍କ ପାଖରେ ଦଉନି। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଦିନଲିପି ଲେଖିଲା ବେଳକୁ ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ ଜିନିଷ ଇଏ ରହୁଛି କି ଯେମିତି ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧା ମୋର ମଝିରେ ବହୁତ କମି ଯାଇଥିଲା, କିନ୍ତୁ ଏଥରକ ମାନେ ସେମିତି ବଢିନି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ମୁଁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିକି ଦିନଲିପିରେ ମତେ ଆଟଲିଷ୍ଟ ହଁ ତ ଲେଖିବି, କିନ୍ତୁ ଯାହାହେଲେ ବି ମାନେ ଗୋଟେ ଜଷ୍ଟ ଗୋଟେ ବିଧି ରଖିଲା ଭଳିଆ ହଁ ଟିକେ ପଢିଦିଏ, ମାନେ କେବେ କେବେ ସେଇଟା ହେଇଯାଏ। କିନ୍ତୁ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବି କି ସେଟାକୁ ସେମିତି ନ କରିକି ଦିନ ମାନେ ଶ୍ରଦ୍ଧା ଟାଇମ ଟିକେ ସେମିତି ଆଉ ଟିକେ ଭଲସେ ବଢେଇ ପାରିବି, ସେଇଟା ଗୋଟେ ସବୁବେଳେ ଚେଷ୍ଟା କରିବି ଏ ବର୍ଷ। ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ମାନେ ମୋ ମାଙ୍କ ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ବି ସବୁବେଳେ ଡିସ୍କସନ କରିକି ଆମେ କାହା ବିଷୟରେ ଆଲୋଚନା କରିବାନି, ମାନେ ଯଦି ବି माने आलोचना इन द सेंस माने नेगेटिव वे रे जदि भी किसी आसिला सेटा को हमें तांगर पॉजिटिव जिंसटा को देखिया सेटा गोटे जिंस मते हमको बहुत हेल्प करछि जोटा कि हम बहुत माने कहा विषय रे सबले जदि भी किसी गोटे आसी जाय मुकल नाही से टॉपिक बंद कर दियो तो सेटा जेतले माने सबले रिक्रिएट मन भीतर सबले थाए कि नाही करन द परचे एटा को माने केमती मो पूरा अवॉइड करी एटलिस्ट घरे जदि कर परिबी ताले सेटा बाहर कर परिबी तो सेति सबले आम चेष्टा करूँ माने घर मान सेटा चेष्टा करूँ कि घरे एटलिस्ट हमें से जिनसटा को केमती दूरे रखिबो आउ ए वर्ष मध्य एई सब जिनस पर आहुरी गुरुत्व देकी ठाकुरंकर पूजा करी एति करो जय
जयगुरु ठाकुर को मध्याह्न भोग पे इवनिंग भक्तवान को मध्याह्न प्रसाद सेवन पे निमंत्रण करिए।
जय गुरु प्राण ठाकुर आमर एठारे आमर अधिवेशन शेष होगा जाऊँगी आपण को मध्याह्न भोग पे निमंत्रण करुच्ची तार संगे भक्त भाई माँ को यंग स्टूडेंट समस्त को मध्याह्न प्रसाद पे निमंत्रण करुच्ची ठाकुर भोग दिया सारा प्रसाद ग्रहण करेंगे एवं संध्या पूजा ठाकुर को निमंत्रण करुच्ची संध्या पूजा ठाकुर को निमंत्रण करुच्ची भाई और माँ मान को जय
जय गुरु ब्रज भाई
हाँ
भाई शुणा आज आम पाटचक्र पूजा हम 3:30 हम तुम ठाकुर ज्ञान हुए जन दे पाड़ी अच्छे आज जय
जय गुरु प्राण ठाकुर भाई मामा आज आमर नॉर्थ कैरोलिना पाटचक्र जून अधिवेशन दिन 3:30 बेले हम ठाकुर आपन को निमंत्रण जनाऊँगी 3:30 बेले आप आसन ग्रहण करेंगे 3टा बेले आपन को विश्राम रू उठे नित्यक्रम समापन करने चेष्टा करूँ जय गुरु
तामने आज आकर माँ मान पाठ शास्त्र पाठ ना
माँ मान बंद करा पड़ो unless you want to separate out and do something माँ मान मासे 2 मास है मो जाऊ काली एकादशी होगा तो करें माँ मान मासे 2 मास है बंद है आउ गोटे थर बंद हम सरू सबू काम दाम सरू तापर आरंभ करिया
ठीक 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 और शिल्पी आज दे शिल्पी इसी तरह की आसन जी आसन मंदिर
हाँ जम्मू कैन यू इनवाइट ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ शिल्पी
Jai Guru, I invite all the young aspirants, Ma's Bhais, to next week's Sangha Puja at 11 a.m. on June 29th. Jai Guru. On behalf of Shilpi.
जय गुरु समस्त भक्त भाई माँ और यंग स्टूडेंट्स आसंता रविवार जून 29 तारीख शिल्पी मोर सुश्री माँ पाड़ी अच्छी तो आपण समस्त को निमंत्रण मिलला आपण माने पूजा रे योगदान दी पूजा टी सफल मंडित करिवे जय गुरु
धन्यवाद
जय गुरु प्राण ठाकुर उपस्थित भक्त भाई माँ यंग स्टूडेंट आज आमर सार्थक भक्त भाई आ मोर संघरे पाड़ी सेवा थिला आज सेवा पूजा होइथिबा समस्त दोष त्रुटि पई आउ ठाकुर पाखरे आउ समस्त भक्त भाई और माँ मान पाखरे क्षमा प्रार्थना करुच्ची आ ये दोष त्रुटि जमी पुनरावृत्ति न हम से श्री ठाकुर चरण प्रार्थना करुच्ची जय गुरु
देवे चरण जुगला दुर्लभ तव चरण जुगला कि दिए
পূজিব আমি কি আছে সম্বল কি দিয়ে পূজিব আমি কি আছে সম্বল দেহ ধন জন তোমারি সকল দেহ ধন জন তোমারি সকল গ্রহণ করিয়া কর জীবন সফল গ্রহণ করিয়া কর জীবন সফল এই চরাচর বিশ্ব সকলি তোমার এই চরাচর বিশ্ব সকলি তোমার কি ধন তোমারে দিব কি আছে আমার প্রভু কি ধন তোমারে দিব কি আছে আমার কি দিয়ে পুজিব তোমায় দিনহীন আমি কি দিয়ে পুজিব তোমায় দিনহীন আমি যে ধনে পুজিব তোমায় সেই ধন তুমি দেব যে ধনে পুজিব তোমায় সেই ধন তুমি আর কিছু নাই চাই এই নিবেদন আর কিছু নাই চাই এই নিবেদন জন্মে জন্মে এই রূপে দাও দর্শন দেব জন্মে জন্মে এই রূপে দাও দর্শন আর কিছু নাই চাই এই নিবেদন আর কিছু নাই চাই এই নিবেদন জন্মে জন্মে এই রূপে দাও দর্শন দেব জন্মে জন্মে এই রূপে দাও দর্শন জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় গুরু জয় 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 জয় 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 জয় গুরু জয় Guru, Jai 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 Jai Shri Thakur Anand Gopal Shri Guru Maharaj Jai, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru.
ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଭାଇମାନେ କେତେଟା ଆନାଉନ୍ସମେଣ୍ଟ ଅଛି ଟିକେ ପେସେନ୍ସ ରହିବେ କାହିଁକିନା ଆଜି ହଉଛି ସରି ଆମର ଗୋଟିଏ ସଂଘ ପୂଜା ରହିଲା 9 ଦିନ ପୂର୍ବରୁ ଆଉ ଶରତ ଭାଇ ସନ୍ତୋଷ ଭାଇ ଆସି ପହଞ୍ଚିବେ ଏଠି ଗୁରୁବାର ଦିନ ସକାଳେ ଆସି ପହଞ୍ଚିବେ ଜେଏସ୍କେ ତାପରେ ନେକ୍ସଟ ସଂଘ ପୂଜାରେ ଆମର 2 ଜଣ ଥିବେ ଆଶ୍ରମ ମନ୍ଦିରରେ ସନ୍ତୋଷ ଭାଇ ସଭା ପରିଚାଳନା କରିବେ। ତାपर ତ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀ ଆରମ୍ଭ ହେଇଯିବ। ସମ୍ମିଳନୀ पर ସଣ୍ଡେଟା ଆମର ସଂଘ ପୂଜା ନାହିଁ, ଜଷ୍ଟ keep that in mind that July 6th ରେ ଆମର ସଂଘ ପୂଜା ନାହିଁ। ଯଦି ଭାଇ ଆଲାଉ କରନ୍ତି ହୁଏତ ପ୍ରାର୍ଥନା ସଭା ଆମର ଇଏଟା ଆରତୀଟା ଜଏନ୍ କରିବେ। ଆଇ ଟକ୍ ଟୁ ଶରତ ଭାଇ ହ୍ୱାଟ ଇଜ ସେଜ୍ ଇଏ ଥିବ ଆମର କଣ କହିଲେ ଆସିଲା ଥିବ ଯଦି ସେ ଆରତୀଟା ଆଲାଉ କରନ୍ତି କଣ ଦେଖିବା। I will let you know. ଖାଲି କେତେଟା ଆନାଉନ୍ସମେଣ୍ଟ କରିଥିଲି ଯେ ପ୍ରଥମ କଥା ହେଲା ଯେ ଆମର ଉଷାମା ଲାଇନ୍ ଅଛନ୍ତି। ଉଷାମା ଟିକେ ଆମର ଯୋଉ କଥା ହେଇଥିଲେ ୱାଇ ସେସନ ବିଷୟରେ ଯୋଉ ସ୍ପେଶାଲ ସେସନ 3ଟା ହବ ସେ କୁଇକଲି ଟିକେ ଗୋଟେ ଅପଡେଟ୍ ଦେବେ ଉଷାମା।
ଆଜ୍ଞା ଭାଇ ଜୟଗୁରୁ ଭାଇ। ହଁ ଭାଇ ମୁଁ ଦେଇ ଦଉଛି ଆମର ଯାହା ଡିସ୍କସନ ହେଇଥିଲା ସେ I just give a brief on that. How our last Sangha Puchare we were talking about it. What is the plan? We had not by then we had not decided further counseling session plan for during the Samadhi time, or what was the methodology or what were the final points. So we did discuss this out, and we were planning to have 3 different groups to have it. And we will have it after lunch on all the 3 days of the Samadhi. That is we'll start like around 1:30. So the 3 different groups would be middle school. We are going by the school group, and the age group will follow accordingly. Middle school, high school, and college going students. So after lunch we plan to have right around 1:30, and since we have a RV, we will be doing the sessions in the RV. So for middle school it will be Pallavitama who will be conducting the session. College going will be Vijay Bhai, and the high school it will be done by me. So whatever we had discussed, that the counseling that we are going to do is definitely going to be all very confidential. We would like to hear from the children the challenges they are facing in school, in the peer groups, in general in life, and give them some counseling as per our Thakura's ideology and Thakura's teaching. So this is what in general we are planning to do. Vijay Bhai, would you like to add something?
Joy Guru, no, I think you have said it correctly, and that the emphasis is that it is going to be confidential, and it is mostly facilitation, just to give an opportunity to listen to the young aspirants and not necessarily talk to them, but be part of the conversation. And we also pray to Thakura that any solutions that might emerge will also come from through this facilitation. But everything that we will do with Thakura in the center and around Thakura's teachings and Thakura's Bhavadhara. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru Bhai, yes, our topic, the way we have kept it is navigating school, family and culture, growing as Sri Thakura's child. Jai Guru.
Jai Guru Bhai, just to clarify, this is optional, right?
Yes, it is optional. Yes, Bhai, it's totally optional. Last time we had mentioned it. It's not mandatory. It's totally optional.
Yeah. That's what exactly I was going to say. But if you join, that's fine. Vijay Usama ଯାହା କହିଲେ this is ଠାକୁର centric. ଠାକୁରଙ୍କର ଯାହା ଅଛି ଆଦେଶ ଉପଦେଶ ଅଛି ସେଗୁଡ଼ା ଡିସ୍କସନ କରାଯିବ। ବଟ୍ ଏନିୱେ ଆପଣ ଯଦି ଚାହୁଁଛନ୍ତି ଆପଣ ସବୁ ପିଲା ଜଏନ୍ କରିବା ପାଇଁ। ଆଚ୍ଛା ହଉ, କୁଇକଲି ଆଉ ଗୋଟେ କଥା ମୋର କହିବାର ଅଛି ଯେ ପ୍ରଥମେ ଯୋଉମାନେ ସମ୍ମିଳନୀରେ ଆସୁଛନ୍ତି ଯେ ଗତ ବର୍ଷ ଆମର ସମୀକ୍ଷାରେ ଗୋଟେ ସଜେସନ ଆସିଥିଲା ଯେ ବଡ ପିଲାମାନଙ୍କୁ ପୁଅ କିମ୍ବା ଝିଅ ତାଙ୍କୁ ଧୋତି ବା ଶାଢୀ ପୁଅ ମାନଙ୍କୁ ଧୋତି ପିନ୍ଧିବାକୁ ଏନକରେଜ କରିବୁ। ମାନେ ଇଟ୍ସ ନଟ୍ ମ୍ୟାଣ୍ଡେଟୋରି जे धोती नपिंधे absolutely nothing like that, absolutely nothing like that. ठाकुर पाखे बसिया ठाकुर कथा सुनिया इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट देन वरी तो एनकरेज करता आस्था सजेशन एनकरेज करिए बड़ पिलान को बड़ बड़ प्रोग्राम को धोती पिंधिया पे बड़ झियामान को साड़ी पिंधिया पे if they are willing to do that, that's great. If not, that's fine. हाउ गोटे कथा अनेक थर कही